This video is brought to you by Craig Petronella, cybersecurity IT expert, coach, author, IT HIPAA specialist for medical, legal and construction firms. Managed IT department and proprietary security for less than hiring. It looks like there could have been another hack of federal employee records. This time the Health and Human Services Department is checking into the possibility of a hack compromising the data of 6,700 doctors, nurses and other health workers under the Surgeon General. A problem was discovered in the system on September 20th. It's been fixed, but the sensitive data was available until then. Investigators are trying to determine whether anything was actually stolen. An email sent from Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, said that hackers may have accessed the name, birth dates and social security numbers of current and former, as well as dependents of, Public Health Service Commission Corps officers. These officers work with different federal agencies during national and international health emergencies. Think about how integral a router is to a modern home. It provides internet for your computers, Wi-Fi for your mobile devices and, increasingly, helps control thermostats, refrigerators, security cameras, lights and just about anything else electrical. You can even order products you're low on by pushing a button, all from the internet magic of your router. Do you have any idea, though, how susceptible a router is to hackers? Tapping into your router, a hacker can do all kinds of terrible things. They can intercept data going to and from your router and steal your files. They can send you to fake websites full of malware. They can even peek through webcams. And it's not terribly difficult to access a router. All a hacker needs in many cases is the router's IP address and an admin password. These passwords are often, particularly in older routers, preset and remain unchanged, so all a hacker needs to know is the factory default password and bam! You're compromised. So what can you do to protect your router from hackers? Obviously, updating the default password is an important step. The next thing to do is to make sure your router's firmware stays up to date. Firmware, as opposed to software, is embedded in the hardware of the router. It's the computer inside it that makes it run and tells data where to go. Hackers can find vulnerabilities in firmware that give them access to the router, so companies are constantly coming up with firmware updates to address these security holes. So then the question becomes, how do I make sure my firmware stays up to date? Many newer routers automatically update their firmware, so you might not have to worry about it. For older routers, and keep in mind that there are tons of different routers out there, so the process may vary some, but typically you log into a page in a web browser on the computer or device that's connected to the router's network by typing in the router's IP number. From there you'll usually click on something like Advanced and find a link to update the firmware. Hit the button, confirm it, wait for the installation, restart your router and you're all nice and updated, and therefore more safe. The US government has formally accused Russia of recent cyber attacks. The Obama administration claims confidence that the Russian government was behind the attacks that targeted the Democratic Party, which may have been an attempt to interfere in the upcoming presidential election. Russia has denied the claims. The statement was released by the Department of Homeland Security and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and maintains that the scanning and probing of sensitive system mostly originated from servers belonging to a Russian company. The accusation comes amid tense diplomatic relations between the two countries. Talks over a ceasefire in Syria deteriorated late last week. Here is the official statement. Joint statement from the Department of Homeland Security and Office of the Director of National Intelligence on Election Security.
The U.S. intelligence community is confident that the Russian government directed the recent compromises of emails from U.S. persons and institutions, including from U.S. political organizations. The recent disclosures of alleged hacked emails on sites like DCLeaks.com and WikiLeaks and by the Guccifer 2.0 online persona are consistent with the methods and motivations of Russian-directed efforts. These thefts and disclosures are intended to interfere with the U.S. election process. Such activity is not new to Moscow. The Russians have used similar tactics and techniques across Europe and Eurasia, for example, to influence public opinion there. We believe, based on the scope and sensitivity of these efforts, that only Russia's senior-most officials could have authorized these activities. Some states have also recently seen scanning and probing of their election-related systems, which in most cases originated from servers operated by a Russian company. However, we are not now in a position to attribute this activity to the Russian government. The U.S. intelligence community and the Department of Homeland Security assess that it would be extremely difficult for someone, including a nation-state actor, to alter actual ballot counts or election results by cyber attack or intrusion. This assessment is based on the decentralized nature of our election system in this country and the number of protections state and local election officials have in place. States ensure that voting machines are not connected to the internet, and there are numerous checks and balances as well as extensive oversight at multiple levels built into our election process. Nevertheless, DHS continues to urge state and local election officials to be vigilant and seek cybersecurity assistance from Department of Homeland Security. A number of states have already done so. Department of Homeland Security is providing several services to state and local election officials to assist in their cybersecurity. These services include cyber hygiene, scans of internet-facing systems, risk and vulnerability assessments, information sharing about cyber incidents, and best practices for securing voter registration databases and addressing potential cyber threats. Department of Homeland Security has convened an election infrastructure cybersecurity working group with experts across all levels of government to raise awareness of cybersecurity risks potentially affecting election infrastructure and the elections process. Secretary Johnson and Department of Homeland Security officials are working directly with the National Association of Secretaries of State to offer assistance, share information, and provide additional resources to state and local officials.